welcome to Heart and Hand Extra. My name's David Edgar, and fresh from causing me trouble the last time he was on the pod, I'm delighted to welcome back Stephen Smith, former chair of the Rangers Supporters Trust. Hello, Stevie.
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm not too bad, my friend. Now, normally on the later in the week pod, and you're getting it a little bit earlier this time because of the rather prosaic reason that I'm moving house, and this is the only chance I'll get to record it. Normally we do a preview, but we look at what's happened in the last few days with Rangers, and it's certainly been a busy time of it. Pedro's press conference on Tuesday has almost been legendary, where he really went off on one, on a group. He went off on the players with. He said they were an embarrassment to him, they were an embarrassment to the club, they were an embarrassment to fans, but he challenged them for a better performance. And as I say, we're recording this a little earlier, so it's not long after the Kilmarnock match finished. Stevie, I can't say that there was a reaction, or if there was, it was certainly not the one he would have been looking for.
That game was as flat as a snooker table, David, and I think what was really disappointing, particularly in the second half, was I was looking very, very carefully to see where are the leaders in the pitch, where are the players that are going to make a positive difference here, grab this game by the scruff of the neck against an average Kilmarnock team.
Oh yeah, they're poor side.
And there was nobody to be seen. And you could see it coming as if there was a band in front of it marching around the corner with the drums getting louder and louder. You could see that.
Yeah, it was almost inevitable. I couldn't see that one coming. as anything's go, I couldn't see that coming. Obviously, if you want to hear my thoughts on it, you can go and check out the YouTube video, and please subscribe at the Rangers Heart and Hand channel. But yes, Stevie's absolutely correct. The last 25 minutes, I thought Rangers were okay in the first half. I didn't think we were great, but again, we were the better side, and you can't expect a team who are flat in confidence to come roaring out. But it doesn't happen. It's a film cliche. That usually when a boxer gets battered to the floor, he doesn't rise up for the next round. He usually gets knocked out. So they had no confidence. You could see that, but they grew into it. Good goal from Jason Holt, who was having a very fine game at that point. And I was dreading the kind of post half time lull that we seemed to be stuck in, and it didn't come. And I was really pleased with that. In fact, we looked like getting a goal, and I'm thinking, yep, we're going to go on here and get the 3 points. Then from 65 minutes to the end, we were by far, by a distance, the poorer side. And Kilmarnock made better chances in that period than we had made up to that point. And Pedro's substitutions baffled me, I have to say. And people have said that to me before, and I've defended them because I'm very much been on the Pedro train. But I couldn't tonight. You could just put like the kind of cut in a video. You could say, right, from this point on, the young kid from Man City, it's a tough gig, and he's obviously out to get experience, but whatever happened when bringing him on just totally killed our shape, bizarrely. And then sending young Barjonas on, I get it, but it sent out a message to Kilmarnock that we're done attacking, that we're just going to sit in and defend. But even at that, we get the penalty, and then madness ensues. And a couple of things I would say, and these are things I thought at the time, so I'm honestly not being hypocritical here. Jack can't get involved. Just walk away. Just laugh. Just walk away. 3 red cards before the end of October is unacceptable. Candeas' finishing is erratic. It is. It's erratic at the best of times. So to me, he seemed an odd choice to hit the penalty. And after that long delay, I would certainly have considered just throwing the ball at somebody else and say, I've been thinking about this for the last 5-6 minutes. You go up and hit it. But it's the fine margins. If that penalty goes in, it's a win, and not a great win, but a win, and we move on and a clean sheet. But even if Jack keeps his head, I do believe the chaos doesn't ensue. Even though we miss that penalty, we probably would have held out. I believe that. Obviously there's no way to say it, but Pedro's a manager who seems to, when it's fine margins, always fall on the wrong side of it, and that's either at best he's a very unlucky manager, which is a shame, but I don't want an unlucky manager in charge of Rangers. Or in football, if you're constantly falling on the wrong side of the narrow margin, it's because you're not good enough to push over, and that's why winning coaches are winning coaches. So I mean, that's a lot there I've just said to you. So we'll start off with Ryan Jack incident first of all. Broadfoot is an absolute cunt.
Yeah.
I mean, that was disgraceful.
Yeah.
I wish that poached egg had done more damage.
Well, do you know something that for an ex-Rangers player, and I was watching him at the very end of the game where he was celebrating with Chris Burke like they had won the game, like he had achieved something of significance, and effectively what he had done is pissed all over his legacy as a Rangers player, and I for one will never forgive him.
No,
for
that's it.
that
He's done. I mean, a guy who had been generally fondly remembered has now erased that, and people will no longer go, "I remember that time he'd McGeady in his back pocket," or whatever. It will be, that cunt that because it was so flagrant and cowardly what he did.
Well, I mean, I was at the game, and I'm the top of the Sandy Jardine stand, so I haven't seen any replays of anything that happened. So I'm not really too sure. One of the things I'm not too sure about is the fact that the referee appears to have booked Jack.
Yes, he has, and then he's changed. The fourth official has then intervened, and he's changed it to red. I've never seen that before.
Well, what has the fourth official seen then that the referee has not seen?
I would suggest that the referee being about 8 yards away from the incident, which you can see on the video of it, has a better view.
My guess then, Davey, is that the fourth official has said he has put two hands on him and pushed him over, so you have to send him off. Would be something like that, and I don't know if that level of interference, and we're going to really have to get to the bottom of that, because that's despicable, and I've never seen anything as shambolic.
I've never seen a referee overrule his own decision, but I've never seen a referee that would even countenance
at the end of it. And do you know something? One of the things I was expecting tonight, because it felt like a defeat, not because they scored near the end, but because for all sorts of reasons, and we were looking for a win. Walking out of there, and I stood in the queue in the subway and all the rest of it, and I was waiting, and I was testing the water. No anger. There's a resignation. We're just not good enough. I've heard it once, I heard it half a dozen times. All ages, we're just not good. That's where we are now, is the comment. So there's a real worrying kind of resignation about what Rangers fans now seem to have accepted. Now, I think we've gone too far then away from the sense of entitlement. We should win all the time. We've gone too far the other way. We need to go back towards that, because that's a very dangerous territory for us to be at. Well, we're not very good and we're not going to win.
There's realism, and then there's Tartan Army.
Aye, absolutely.
Where you just forgive failure constantly.
Well, and what I said that's us. I says we are about the third or the fourth best team in Scotland at the moment, because that's what it looked like. If you watched that, if you turned up as a neutral, didn't know anything about Scottish football, watched that game,
you'd think it was a mid-table.
Yeah, that's exactly what you would think.
You would have thought that.
And the crowd was a decent crowd, for a Wednesday, a pretty grim Wednesday night, but the game was flat. And the one thing I will say, and I think it's the most important context, because I was kind of looking out for what the manager was going to do, how he was going to change the team and all the rest of it. What disappointed me more than anything else, David, was the players, right? The manager can only pick who's available to him. I looked at those players, and I include Morelos in that. I'm a fan of, as you know, Candace, Jack as well. I've been impressed by, but I can't say it was anything impressive about what happened at the tail end of tonight.
3 red cards by October, Steve.
No, that's inexcusable.
And he's not a kid; he's 25.
No, and I like him, and I think if that gets sorted out, and I think he was very, very unfair to be red carded against Hibs. I think he got absolutely stitched up by a disgraceful Ned piece of garbage. But that's a burning for you. There wasn't a single Rangers player, with the possible exception of Jason Holt, and I include Ross McCrory as well. And you and I are fans of his, I know, and he looked like occasionally like a giraffe in roller skates tonight. It was really kind of worrying. There wasn't a single Rangers player there that looked worth.
To be fair,
I think I can't blame it.
But I'm reaching. But Wes didn't do a thing wrong tonight. In fact, did several things.
Everybody else. I'll tell you about Herrera, for example. Nice. I thought, oh good, well he's going to get a run out. We'll see what he's like as a target man. Well, the answer, I watched him, and there was a period of the game where he went up for the ball, 5-6 headers, get cleared out for the back. He didn't win a single one of them. He's not a target man. He's not a target man, David. Whatever kind of player he is, he's not a target man. He's not a hold the ball up. And the vogue phrase that we've had in the last couple of years is game management, right? Good teams manage a game. We did none of that.
No. And to be honest, the attempt at it was laughable. When we brought on Barjonas, you're then sitting with a 4-5-1 with a target man as an out ball, and yet Kilmarnock piled the pressure on. It just wasn't acceptable. And I spoke about it in the video blog, and I spoke about it on Monday with the guys. Now I don't want to go over the same points for the listeners, because I understand that you don't want to hear the same show every week, but I've reluctantly, turned the corner on Pedro. There was a lot of people who'd done it before me. There's a lot of people who's still behind me, but I just can't justify it anymore, because the feeling that has been at the back of my mind, the nagging doubt, is that this is a guy who talks a fantastic game but doesn't deliver. And that was that it just every week, and that was not a performance of a side who are just about to turn it round, that are having bad luck, that are just about to turn it round. That was a performance of a team who are going down and going backwards.
The trajectory.
Yeah, the trajectory. And that's when people say things because people are still defending him, and I understand it, because he's such a good guy, and he's been treated so abysmally by the press over here and by the football establishment in Scotland, that you want him to do well. And he's charmed us in the way that he must have charmed and impressed the board. He's charmed and impressed us. But
it's early months Warburton, David.
Here's the but. Well, without the results, the impressive performances. But here's where the but comes. The results do not stand up, and I kept grabbing for the excuses. I kept going, well, here's a reason that it might work, and here's why it isn't working. And even tonight on social media, people are saying to me things like, well, it's not Pedro's fault, can they miss a penalty? I'm like, no, actually it is, because you're right, it's clearly not his fault. Candace misses a penalty and Jack does that because that's decisions. But unfortunately, in the way football is structured, in the hierarchy, yes, it is his fault. Well, he's the manager.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that all of those things happened after 90 minutes were on the clock, and we were only 1-0 ahead at home to a very, very average Kilmarnock team. Yeah. They are nowhere near as good as Motherwell, and Motherwell aren't better than Rangers either. And we lost comfortably to them on Sunday. So we've been beaten by a team. Okay, I guess there's an element for them, new manager and all the rest of it, but the fact is that's at Ibrox, it's a midweek game, that Walter Smith side would have knocked over 3-0.
Yeah, comfortably. Boring game.
Yeah. We'd have got to go. And it went for us as well, because I have a great fear these days, if we don't get the first goal, we're in bother. And we got it at a really good time, just before half time.
Although I bang on about this on the pod, as listeners will know, Stevie, that I always think it's the second. It's the key goal, because if we don't get it, then we panic, and you could feel in the stands, you could feel the understandable nervousness, and the players certainly didn't have much of a confidence.
Well, I said to people I was sat with, I says, I'm not sure, looking at that, what's our plan? What is our game plan? And actually, I'll throw the question open, because after telling you what it appears to be, that the ball gets rolled out and played short to the defenders, backwards and forwards between the fullbacks, McCrory, Alves, and eventually goes to Alves, who launches it long. So I'm not really sure what we're trying to do. We're certainly not trying to work the ball through midfield. We're not trying to pass. We're not trying to pass and move. We're not trying to draw Kilmarnock forward so we can get in behind them with pace. I'm not sure what the point of what we're trying to do is, other than we put players in a kind of roughly the same position and we see what happens.
Yeah, and I just feel that, unfortunately, Pedro is at that stage where he's got clearly an unhappy dressing room, and there are reports, and I just say that it's reports, please don't go away and take this as gospel, that senior players in the squad were told to stay away from the game tonight. The dressing room does not appear to be behind him, because he went nuclear on the players this week, as mentioned. You can only do that once.
That's right, there's no coming back from that.
He did it, and he got no reaction tonight, and it's just that it's a guy who, as someone phrased it beautifully, is circling the drain, and you can delude yourself that he needs time, or he needs this, or he needs that, but what if it's Occam's razor? What if it's just the more obvious answer of he's not a very good football manager, and that's okay, because most people aren't, and even in football most managers aren't gifted. That's the thing. That's why you pay the big bucks for the good ones. Otherwise, we just let a Johnny do it, he would just hand out bibs. But that team is a team that unfortunately is I would say it's going nowhere, but it's going backwards, and the promise of the early season has completely fizzled out. They are absolutely shorn of confidence. They are clearly playing within
Look at
themselves.
Tavernier tonight, David,
Yeah,
in terms of confidence, you know, shot to pieces.
Yes, absolutely. You could see it. And I just think that, unfortunately, it's inevitable now because the fans don't believe in him. And I'm sure that there'll be a few people on social media who tell me that that they believe in him. But the rank and file fans, the vast majority, don't. It's as simple as that.
There's two ways of looking at it, and the delusion. The delusion we have is that, for example, we had won the game tonight as we should have done. I understand Aberdeen did the traditional lie down act to Celtic, so we would have been 3 points behind.
I don't think we can say that anymore, given that.
Well, regardless
we
of
do
us,
the same.
we're not lying down to them. We're just not good enough to lay a glove on them.
Yeah.
You know, Aberdeen, you know, as we keep being told, are good enough to beat them, but I never see any evidence.
Which incidentally is why when we talk about
managers
managers coming in, Stevie, it's why I'm not keen on McInnes, because I think he's just a higher class of unsuccessful manager.
No, I think when I heard you talking about a statement manager, and that's exactly what this club needs at that stage. And I agree with your synopsis in that the current guy is a dead man walking, because I see no evidence of a team structure, and I actually think we're in a false position.
That's what I mean, Stephen, about
because we're third in that league.
Oh, but this week, I mean, we could drop to 6, and I hate the could haves, but then people were trying to justify it to me by saying, well, we could be on Wednesday if results go our way only 3 points, but and I'm like, you know, it's always this could have thing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'll throw a could have back. We could be 6 this weekend, and only in the top 6 by a goal difference. So you can't. We can't be in this position, and
there's no signs of improvement there. It's not as if we're struggling. Let's say we're light in midfield, or we're having to get teeth up front, or we're weak at centre back, or whatever the criticism is. There's no sign of structured, significant improvement. No sign.
Yeah.
We are better than we were under Warburton.
Yes.
I think probably by dint of the fact that the quality of players are better. But when it comes to push to shove, I think there have been half a dozen key games, and include all the games against Celtic, where we've lost when it mattered.
That's unfortunately Pedro's track record, and like I say, it might just be bad luck. But in that case, I don't really believe that. I believe it's not. I believe it's a pattern. The pattern is that this is a side that consistently underdelivers, and unfortunately in football, the manager carries the can, rightly or wrongly, and that's the way it's always been. It's the way it always will be.
Most of that team that was on the pitch tonight were his signings.
Yes.
So he has to carry
7 and 2 off the bench.
Well, there you go. So it's it's not good enough.
It's not a Warburton team now, and that excuse doesn't wash. He bought these players, and he's not getting a tune out of them. And the thing is, people kind of throw up as a defence. Well, you know, another manager might not be able to get the bit. You're absolutely. He might not, but he might.
Yes.
And the other one is, well, we could end up going through lots of managers. Well, we could until we get the right one. That's unfortunately where we have to go.
We've what's become popular in the last few years is Einstein's definition of madness and insanity, which is you repetition of the same thing, knowing that it will not get a different result. So we can't continue to do that.
No.
In my view, we can't stick with the manager because we know that the result is not going to change.
Yeah, I don't understand that argument of saying, right, this guy's a failing manager, but stick with him in case the next guy is as well. That to me is utterly bizarre. Do we question the board on this appointment? It was a left field, it was a gamble. Let's face it, everybody had to head to Google to find out who this guy was. I think, I'm a bit of a football nerd and I'd never heard of him. It was irresponsible at a time when we needed stability over everything else.
I'm not sure whether it was irresponsible, desperate, or a genuinely progressive attempt to leap forward. Right, what we need is a coach, and it needs to be someone who will work with players, who will not sit in an office, who's a tracksuited manager, but is in to develop players. But to be honest, I don't really see a significant improvement on Mark Warburton and David Weir's tenure, and I think that's the most damning thing, because I don't think it's a sustainable argument that says he hasn't had the time to improve. It's his players. We're playing at home. We're playing mediocre teams, and we're making
That's
them
the
look
thing.
better.
And run of fixtures has been generous.
Yeah,
we haven't.
We are. That's right. We're right in the middle of that. We should be winning 7, and we haven't.
Yeah, we haven't been. We haven't
up.
had to go to Edinburgh yet to face either side. We haven't had to go to Parkhead. We haven't had to go to the Sheep.
Yeah.
That we should be doing better. And like I say, the fact is results are progressively getting worse.
I don't know a single Rangers fan who wants or believes that manager has got any time left. And I think the only argument for keeping him would be a financial one.
I think that's the case. In which case, the board need to find the money, because that's your job. And as Scott has said often, and he's always correct, there comes a point where not being Mike Ashley isn't enough.
No.
And we're at it. So you did great in the summer, absolutely wonderful. But
Agreed.
Again, you made this decision, and I would seriously ask questions of a board who appointed a risky manager. I mean, everyone would have to say a risky management appointment, and gave him a contract that was virtually uncuttable. I mean, they wouldn't do that in their normal businesses. So why would they do it with a football one?
Well, people's normal business sense, if I can describe it as such, takes flight whenever football's involved in it. And the old cliche about how do you make a rich man a poor man, answer get him involved in a football club is absolutely true. But as you know, I mean, there is very little that you can do in this that isn't guesswork or educated guesswork. So in terms of taking that out, I've said we should not. It's not shooting for the moon, but to try and take some of the kind of elements of guesswork of that out, what we need to do is appoint a board who will decide who the manager is, and that board should consider Walter Smith and Richard Goff are two names that should be on that. And we should try and leave it in the external expertise.
Although Walter recommended Ali.
Yeah, well, Ali was his partner. I don't think it was his choice, and to be honest, McCoist was there because of the club's financial situation, and that's been part of the downward spiral. If we look up the hill to where we were then, that's part of the reason why he was there, because in normal circumstances Alistair McCoist would never get near the manager's job at Rangers Football Club without going out and proving his pedigree, and look how badly that turned out, and getting somebody like Sir Alex Ferguson or Dick Advocaat as well, and have a kind of a consortium of experts who choose and advise the board, and we don't leave that to the people who are in that boardroom at the moment, because they are not there because they can choose football managers. They're there for other reasons. David
proved that. Moving on, because this show at the end of the week we also have to look forward, and we have another match on Saturday where we're going to Murrayfield, which will be interesting, to play Hearts. Now, it's going to be a lot to pick up a battered team, in 48 hours. We will be without possibly Graham Dorrans, Ryan Jack, who knows. The club may appeal the red card, so he may well be available. But
and Bruno Alves as well.
So, his appeal hasn't been heard yet, but so it's going to be a tough match, and the reason I kind of hesitated there is Hearts are not a good side. I watched them last night. They're a very, very poor side, but they will see this one as a kind of free hit, I suspect, and that Levine will have them absolutely pumped for this game given his relationship with Rangers over the years. So that's my concern, that although they're a poor side, they'll go into this game champing at the bit and desperate to fly into tackles. They're a physical side, and that's a concern, because I think it's pretty clear we're refereed to a different standard, and clubs can get away with putting us off the park.
Can I just say, while you've reminded me, the club pointing that out in a statement is a really positive and great thing to happen. It's a small step forward. It's not the answer in and of itself, but to hear Rangers actually saying we are held to a different standard. Now, people can try and unpick and will have their own reasons as to why that is.
It is a fact.
Whether that be motivated by politics, envy, sectarianism, and any one of a dozen things, but it's absolutely true, and we saw it again tonight. We don't have to look very far for the evidence. But that's a really positive thing. And I don't think we have any easy games now, because home games we're going to be expected to do better than we did. We should have won that one tonight and didn't. Away games, everyone's a banana skin, and you and I know that clubs up their game by a significant factor whenever they play Rangers. It doesn't matter whether they're doing well, badly or not. Look at the way Dundee played against us, for example. You know,
I think coming off that Hibs result, yet another loss and a fairly insipid one. I know this might sound strange, but I think that the Hearts management would probably prefer a home game, although they would much prefer it at Tynecastle, and that's something that does factor in, because Tynecastle can be a really
it's a small pitch,
and it's a heavy atmosphere, and it can be and they won't have that going for them. So I mean, that is a factor. But if they could have picked a match, I think that they probably would have looked for us at the moment, because we're a big side, but we're not, a particularly
vulnerable.
Yeah, but we're vulnerable. And whereas if they were maybe playing Partick Thistle, their fans would expect them to win and would get on them. Their fans won't get on them for mistakes on Saturday the way that they would have in another match. So all I can say is, as an optimist, that it will be an excellent job and a really good win if we go there and get 3 points on Saturday, and I'd be very, very pleased if we manage it, because I think if we were able to go from having had the week we've had, and who knows what the next few days will bring incidentally, but the week we have had, to go there and get 3 points away from home against Hearts is always a good result. And if we go there and do that, I'll be very impressed, and I will be the first to congratulate the manager for doing a stellar job of having picked the team up. I just have my worries that won't be happening.
It's a perfect opportunity to start with the siege mentality.
So it was tonight.
Yeah, it was. But as you pointed out, when you come off the back of a defeat, you're normally getting up off the canvas and keep your guard up. And very rarely is there a bounce back factor, and it certainly wasn't.
You don't get the Rocky Balboa. You generally get knocked out.
It's true enough. So I think that gives an opportunity, if there is one, and I think this is, to be honest, this is last. I'm not even sure if it's last chance saloon, because I think Caixinha's chance is gone.
I will say this for Pedro, that every time I think he's had a result, Stevie, that he can't recover from, he does. And not generally by a dint of a fantastic result or performance. He just seems to ride it out. So as we're sitting here, his position looks untenable, but by Friday morning, who knows, he could get sacked in the morning, we don't know, but it's happened before. I mean, I remember Progress that night. I thought, this can't go on. After the Celtic defeat and we didn't lay a glove on them again, I thought, this can't go on.
That's the thing though, we're using a fan's yardstick to make that assessment, i.e., in our view, what's the position, the parameters
plus emotions after the game.
So the parameters for those decisions made inside the boardroom, I think, are very different, and like we were saying earlier on, you look at the league position, it's not horrendous. I don't think the trajectory is very good, and I don't think there's very much in terms of signs of positive improvement and structural progress, but that's my view. A football board maybe look at that differently and go, well, we've got this guy who's on this amount of money, it would cost us a 7-figure sum to get rid of him.
At least.
So therefore, where are the, there isn't a list, and I heard you and Andy and Ian going through a list of potential successors and who's likely.
I would like to distance myself from Ian, because I've seen people come back. I didn't say Kenny Miller for player manager or mention Nigel Pearson. That was Ian's. Although, to be fair to Ian, he said a manager like what he meant was an aggressive.
He wasn't going, I would like you to consider. He was doing what I think many of us would have done in our heads, with the go, who is likely to be considered.
I would like to just as well at this point say to people that this podcast is me and my mates talking about football, so we throw stuff out there and we'll say stuff that don't take it as gospel. It's just me and my pals, and you guys, our audience, are the extended pals, and that's why we're available on social media. You can come and chat to us, and we'll always try to answer back, because that's what the show is. So sometimes, Hoggy will throw out a statement, and a lot of the time, sometimes it'll pass me by, but a lot of the time I'll say that's stupid and shout them down. But so don't take everything we're saying as absolute gospel, that we fervently want this to happen. But although fucking hell, Ian, the Kenny Miller player manager one, you do deserve about the balls for that one. But
well, it's it appeared in the media That was in the Herald or the Scotsman today.
Yeah, well, apparently the odds were, but yeah, the markets are so. I should explain. Kenny Miller, the odds are that he will be the next manager of Rangers, but the markets are so small that honestly, somebody putting £100 on that would
drop it 5 points.
Aye, okay. It's not something to take serious. It's up there with the kind of Celtic to sign Robin van Persie, for example, or Rangers to sign Robin van Persie was one, Celtic to sign Zlatan Ibrahimovic. If somebody sees that and then goes and puts it on, then it does tend to shove it significantly up. They're really just joke markets, so don't panic about those ones.
I would be panicking about.
I would suspect Murray would go in ahead of him. I really don't see. I mean, for God's sake, if you're saying we need stability and you chuck in a guy who's not a manager, I don't know Kenny's qualities, and he may go on and be a fantastic manager. I don't know. But
no, well, if he does that, then my application would be in the post.
Yeah, exactly.
I was qualified.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just nonsense. I mean, any supporter who's done his coaching or is going through his coaching could say that. So no, I don't see. I'd see it going to Murray. The question is, would we be any better off getting Murray? I don't know. It's just. Sometimes in life, your choices are shit or less shit. You know, sometimes there's no great shining. Oh, we must do this, and that's why it's a pretty grim situation. But we'll see how it is. Tynecastle, as I say, normally we make a prediction. I'm going to say 1-1 because Hearts are a poor side, and I think we should have enough about us. It's maybe fairly optimistic, and like I say, if Pedro picks this team up and we go there and get a victory, I will be the first to say that was a hell of a job to turn that around in 2 days. I don't think I'd put the mortgage on it, put it that way. But what was your prediction for Saturday?
Well, I didn't see the Edinburgh Derby.
They were really bad.
Okay.
Long ball merchants.
But bear in mind.
But the results haven't been bad up to that. They had 11 out of 18, which was a significant turnaround from Cathro.
I'm not optimistic about a win at all on Saturday, David. In fact, if I was to put a bet on, I'd probably bet in a draw, or you know, if Hearts are that bad, then you know they have to be really bad not to have a shot at us.
I'd say it would. I can see it being a really turgid game that's maybe decided by set pieces or a mistake, that kind of thing. I could see it going that way, and if we were to score first. You mentioned earlier it's always a huge thing for us, but I think it would be really big on Saturday if we score first, maybe took a bit of confidence from it, given Hearts are not at Tynecastle and
we'll have a big away support
we'll have a big away support, and it almost becomes it'll have a weird almost exhibition feel to it, but they won't have that. You know what it's like at Tynecastle, we saw it under Warburton. You go there and you lose a goal and the place goes mental, and Hearts come, you know, in waves at you, and it's a different ball game on Saturday, absolutely, just because of the change of venue. Okay. So if we got a goal, I can see us doing well, but it would be foolish of me to sit here and say we are going to go there and win based on our last two performances, because unfortunately the players aren't offering us anything to use as evidence for that sort of prediction.
I think one of the things I'm really worried about is what 11 are going to pitch up. Because you know it's not that it isn't bad enough that we aren't carrying people with injuries and getting people sent off with literally daft red cards that are, you know, not making them available. What's our 11 going to be in Saturday? Because that's really important.
No, totally.
And I can't see an 11 strong enough to go and steamroller a Hearts side at home if they've got anything about them. I agree with you that first goal will make a difference. If we can get it, then that puts us in the frame. If we lose it, I can't see us doing anything.
And it is really sad that's where we are, unfortunately. And but yeah, I can't say, oh, we are definitely going to do something in this match. It's going to go really well for us, because it's just. It would be based totally on bluster. It would be yeah, exactly. Stephen's making a praying motion, which, But like I say, I will state again for the record, if the players do turn up and do that, then I'll be the first to congratulate them, because it's a difficult match, and I would really like to see us to do well in it. Now, there is some bright news. that I can announce that I am delighted to have been invited to be a conference partner, or a convention partner rather, at the NARSA convention in 2018. Where, so if you can't get a ticket for our live pods and you're complaining about that, here's your chance. Just go. All you need to do is go to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and who doesn't want to do that? It's been somewhere that I've always wanted to go. I've been to Toronto, I've been to Montreal, but I've always wanted to go to Calgary, and I will be heading out there, but I'll have my working boots on because there will be a live Heart and Hand show. But on top of that, I'll be doing interviews, I'll be speaking to a lot of the delegates, and I'll be speaking to a lot of the people who've turned up, just to get their thoughts and to find out what it's like being an international fan. So there'll be special pods from it, there'll be special videos from it from me. I can't wait. I'm honoured to have been asked, and I'm honoured to be a convention partner for NARSA 2018. So if you want to see Heart and Hand and you want a trip to Canada and you want to see Jeff Winter, who's going to host the banquet, it's
Jeff tonight.
Lovely guy and really entertaining. And of course you'll always
Jeff
meet Rangers legends, you'll always meet people from the club. It's a fantastic experience. I've only ever kind of seen it on social media before, so I can't wait to go to it. So I'll be there, and you know how much I hate leaving the house, so the fact that I'm doing that, I think should tell you what a great event it is. So start your planning, start getting your money aside, and head out and join me over there. And as I say, thanks to the guys at NARSA. You can follow them on Twitter or on Facebook, and you can find out all the latest stuff that's happening. It's a really exciting programme they're putting together, the Calgary RSC, and it's isn't it wonderful? It's really one of the things that makes our club what it is the fact that we can do things like that because we have such a big support in place here. But we don't need to claim every member of a diaspora or every member of a religion and say, well, they must support us because of that. You know, we just genuinely do have supporters all around the world, and that's enough for us. So thank you very much for listening. But as I say, if you want to see the immediate post video, you'll find it on YouTube, and please go along and subscribe to that. It's good to support us. We'll have a pod with you on Monday or Tuesday of next week, and hopefully we'll have some good news based on Saturday, but maybe not. I'd like to thank my guest Stephen Smith.
Thanks, David. It's nice to share this.
And it's nice to have one where you're not going to get me, kicked out of any previous agreement that I've had with organisations.
No, I thought that's really interesting that people are desperately scrabbling. I mean, when you've got a club who have a poster boy for racism as their number 9, Lee, Super Lee the racist, done 3 times for racism, and they're quite happy to have him as long as he's knocking in goals against the Huns. But when it comes down to the possibility that I'd said something offensive,
which you didn't,
which I hadn't, but they're desperately scrabbling to be offended. They would get on a bus and a train to be.
Stephen, they download about it. This is not something you stumble across. They went and downloaded a podcast to be offended. So fuck them. And that was what I said to the people involved when they came to me and said, "Well, you have to apologise for that." Fuck off.
Apologise for what?
But Stevie, I'd shut the pod down before I'd apologise to fucking Celtic fans. You know that. Seriously, I'd get my fucking lips sewn together and have food shoved up my arse before I would apologise to Celtic fans. So never happened, never will. You know why? Because we're fucking Rangers, and no matter how bad the 11 that take the part are, we're better than them. Always. And I know that sometimes Celtic supporters say, you've got this triumphal. Yeah, you're bloody right we have. We deserve it. We've earned it.
Well, what does that mean? Does that, because what it looks to me like is a very, very one-sided relationship between they're the stalker.
Oh yeah.
They're not our cousins across the city. They're the stalker you can't get rid of, and that the police won't take any action against.
They're the girlfriend or the boyfriend that once you're finished, throws paint on your car. No, absolutely. But thank you very much for listening, folks. My name's David Edgar. I'd just like to thank our executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Paul Miles, and I will speak to you again next week. Thank you. Bye.